I'm going to read to you today from the book that I've been reading called Lucifer Revisited. She's Not Who You Think He Is. Going to read to you right now chapter 9, and it starts out called, topic is a mirror image, Lucifer's reflection. Here goes. First off, I know there are plenty of things I could include regarding the evils of men, their aggressive behavior, the horrors certain religions allow men to get away with, and so on. But I'm not here to talk about those. I'm writing about Lucifer and her hidden attributes from all of us, and how they have infiltrated women from the beginning of man. Over the years, I have noticed characteristics about women that you could define as a direct reflection of Lucifer's persona. They are as followed. Women are suspicious by nature. Women fight for control. They want to be the boss. Women are vain. Women are ruthless with their greatest weapon, their tongue. Women love to play mind games, a love of petty power. Women use seduction and sex as a weapon. Women are vengeful and vicious enemies. Lesbianism has become socially acceptable and mainstream. Women goddesses attempt to usurp God's throne. Women are beautiful and many have beautiful singing voices. So let's look at these one at a time. Let's start with the first one. Women are suspicious by nature. In an article ironically titled Most Women Admit That They Are Suspicious by Nature by Sarah Womack, social affairs correspondent in The Telegraph, December 4th, 2003, she states an interesting fact. 73% would not tell their husbands that the baby was from somebody else. A poll of 5,000 women entitled The Nation's Scruples and Lie Surveys claims that the most women have warped morals. Ironically, the more women lie, the more suspicious they become of their partner. Some women account their suspicious nature as just being a woman's intuition, but not according to the same survey regarding the checking of their partners. 46% of them admitted to checking their pockets. 47% admitted to reading their text messages. 27% of all females out of these 5,000 people, out of these 5,000 women, 27% of them were admitting to checking the phone bill of their spouse's mobile phone, and 10% admitted to following them. This isn't intuition, it's just the plain everyday garden variety of lack of trust. See if this rings familiar to you. A woman walks into a room with numerous other women seated there. The other woman will immediately eye her up and down, sizing her up in a matter of seconds, evaluating her based on her clothes, the way she walks, her hairdo, her makeup, the way she sits down, the amount of eye contact, and so on. This is especially true if there is a group of friends sitting together when someone unknown comes walking in. Then one of them will voice to another something about the woman, more often than not derogatory. It's like a high school pecking order, which, by the way, is proof of this fact. Since we all know and we've all seen it happen a zillion times when we were in school, and yes, guys did it in school as well, but a lot of women never seem to outgrow it. Hollywood has also proven this point with movies called Mean Girl and Tucker Must Die, and She Gets What She Wants, and so on. Both sexes have the propensity to evil, but women seem to be more inclined to display a suspicious nature, having a pecking order. So to speak more of men, a case in point was the recent death of an Irish student who was terrorized by girls at her school. There was a guy as well, but when you read the articles about the incident, it is clear that there were girls who had just had it in for this teen. This is not to say that guys haven't done the same thing, but again, I'm attempting to point out the characteristics similar to women and Lucifer. Since Lucifer, Satan, isn't choosy who she torments, I realize some traits are obviously in both, but it does not negate my intent to only focus on the female side of it. Now, if the situation was changed and we had a guy walk into a room filled with other guys already seated, the other guys could care less. If they noticed he walked in at all, most women say it's because men are not observant. I say it's because women are inherently suspicious and know their own species all too well, and are always on the lookout for something or someone to talk about or who they deem can't be trusted or weak. Also, most women would absolutely die if she walked into a room and saw the same dress or outfit being worn by another woman. It would be devastating. To men, we could care less. But even more apparent are their jealous tendencies towards other women who they deem as prettier, bigger busted, nicer hair, taller, cuter butt, and so on. This being a never-ending cycle of self-affirmation, like the witch in the Snow White with her comment of "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all." An article written by Anthony M. Ludovici titled "In Defense of Vain Women" from the Lost Philosopher, the Best, Anthony states, native beauty and native endowments generally play a greater part than dress and acquired intelligent smartness. It will generally be found that women are more bitterly jealous of each other's bodily gifts than they are of each other's wardrobes, wealth, or wisdom. That was just the first topic about women being vain. It goes into there's 9 topics. It's now going into the second topic called Women Fight for Control. They want to be the boss. What is the one thing marriages fight over more than anything other than money? It would have to be who's in charge. Men and women are both born rebellious in nature. The first words of a child learns is the word no. I've talked with hundreds of married and want to be married women who have had the same idea. I'll change him once we are married. A plan with disaster written all over it. The truth, though, is most, and I mean 99.9% of all women out there, are in charge of their home and their relationships anyways. Adam's biggest mistake was listening to his wife and doing what she wanted instead of doing what he knew God wanted, thus preferring her over him, which is in fact an act of castration. He gave up his manhood and rightful place of authority, the same mistake Ahab made over and over with Jezebel. That was part 2. So what's basically being stated here is that once a man meets a woman and he has to do all the hard work, the introduction, paying for the dates, driving the cars around, and then once they start living together, he slowly gives over dominion over the household to his woman, and he ends up living in a man cave, which you see nowadays all over the world, man caves. It's basically giving up your dominion to a female and allowing her to rule you with an iron whip for no fucking reason. That's the battle of control. As men, you are supposed to be in control of your female, you're supposed to be in control of your marriage, you're supposed to be the head of your household, not the bitch of your household. That's her role to play. So I'll just continue on with the next part. Satan's arrogance is at the root of the single struggle for control. She convinced a third of heaven to defect with her. Think about it. A third of heaven left heaven with her and stood up to God and said no. It sounds just like a man and a woman headed for a divorce, and she takes the kids and moves out. Remember, man is a reflection of God. The same attitude men and women deal with over and over. You are not going to tell me what to do. Who do you think you are anyways? You're not the boss over me. Sound familiar? What attributes will Lucifer have to convince a host of angels, a third of heaven, to defy God and leave with her? One answer might be this. She was someone of great authority, having a high position and held in high esteem, a chief cherub. She was the most beautiful of all angels, and everyone envied her beauty. She was an expert manipulator. She was the mother of the angels. She was God's favorite and the wife of God. The idea that one angel could convince a third of heaven has always been perplexing to me. This one angel had to have the ability to give a convincing argument, but more importantly, had to be someone whose mere presence displayed authority and reverence. Take away the idea Lucifer was the mother or wife, and all you have is an angel who was envied and had the highest position in heaven, excluding God himself. Would those attributes be enough to cause them to rebel against God? I don't think so. In other words, he's stating here that Lucifer was the highest angel of them all, but they had no power. He had no power like God. So what could have made the angels turn against God? One third that left. Let's look at it from another angle. The Vice President of the United States decides she's fed up with the President and wants to defect and take some southern states with her. Not likely. I can't see anyone going along with the idea except maybe a couple of people here and there. But let's change it to the President's wife is also the Vice President, who wants every southern black governor family to defect, and she just happens to be the mother of every governor in the southern state. See the difference? It's not the position that gives her power, it's the relationship ties that aren't just spiritual, they're also emotional, physical, and bound by blood. Adding to the inherent ideology that women are equal to men and have equal rights as men, to the point where Boy Scouts, military academies, men's clubs, boys' clubs in school, and a host of others are now open season for both sexes. There is no longer a separation of sex in these arenas, and all because of the incessant influx of this ridiculous ideology that women have equal rights mandated by God, of which nothing could be farther from the truth. The truth is that Lucifer tapped into a nerve she knew herself, a nerve which picks at the heart of what most women, even godly Christian women, who do their utmost to follow the mandates of God, either fight against or embrace. The ideology that supposes that they are really the ones who are in control because they have a right to have it. They are the boss, not God, and definitely not some man. The women's movement of the 60s, the man-hating political organization, now feminism, and the increase of socially acceptable lesbianism in 2011 all project the same agenda as Satan. Whether they realize it or not, I will not bow to any man. This is the exact same thing Lucifer said to Michael and God. She would not bow to any man. Let me interject one note here before I make every woman on the planet angry with me. First off, I'm not advocating or dismissing the idea that some men are pure jackasses and following them to the grocery store would be an act of idiocy. What I'm saying is the Bible, not me, states that man is to rule over his wife, not to dominate, but to protect her. Eve was duped because women's rule judgment. Eve was duped because women rule, judge, and are moved by their emotions. Men, for the most part, rule, judge, and move with logic. Again, God chose to have Adam rule over his wife, was to protect her, not to dominate her or to make her a prisoner to his every whim. We're talking about a man, Adam, who loved his wife and respected her. God's ruling or laws to have man rule over his wife was both for their protection. God made woman from man's rib, not the other way around, and it really doesn't matter if you like it or not. God said it, not me. If you don't like it, maybe you better take a better look at the root of why you don't like it. Could it be that it has something to do with not wanting somebody to tell you what you can or cannot do? Is it because you have no respect or trust in the man to do right by you? Or is it that you will not bow down to any man? The idea that people can have equal authority is a lie. God made it a command that Adam was to rule over his wife. Some of the punishments God mandated aren't fun and often seem to be cruel or unjust, but too bad. We're not in charge. He is. If you don't like it, you won't like the burning fires of hell any better, I can assure you. There were plenty of times I didn't like what my parents made me do, but I didn't dare say anything about it. I wasn't in charge. People today are the same as in the days of old. We think we can make up our own rules and do whatever the heck we feel like with no consequences. I hate to burst your bubble here, but sorry. God takes his mandates very seriously, and if you think he's going to just let it slide, you're sadly mistaken. Jesus said he came to fulfill the law, not to do away with it. Also, all of God's mandates are just that, mandates, commands, not suggestions. So getting divorced because you just don't like the jerk, you're married because you only married them for your position in life, is not an option. Neither is holding the Sabbath holy, which, by the way, is Saturday, not Sunday, but that's a different story. Or loving and respecting your husband, even if he makes a bad decision. Or loving your wife, remembering she is a weaker vessel subject to emotional moments, and to love her as Christ loved the church. These aren't suggestions. Remember what the church did to him. It wasn't pretty. His own students betrayed him, and others denied him, and he knew they were going to do it beforehand. But it doesn't change who he was or how he responded. I'll be the first to admit I'm nowhere near that good. But I do try to remember, if Christ can forgive me for all the stuff I've done in my life, I can bear and forgive my wife when she forgets who she should be. And no, it's not always easy. Again, God requires husbands to love their wives, giving himself up for her, meaning being willing to die for his own desires and wants in order to keep his wife from falling prey to Satan's voice. I'm going to read you some scripture that's along with it. As the church is subject to Christ, so let wives also be subject in everything to their husbands. Husband, love your wives, and as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, so that he might sacrificing her, having cleansed her by the washing of waters in the word. Wives, be subject to your husbands, subordinate, and adapt yourselves to them, as is right and fitting and your proper duty in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, affectionate and sympathetic to them, and do not be harsh or bitter and resentful towards them. Again, God requires husbands to love their wives, giving himself up. I already read that. A godly woman is like a butterfly. They're gentle and should be treated as such. And remember, I said godly woman. I realize some men aren't good at being gentle, but being willing to learn is the key. On the flip side, ungodly women are the drain and a virus that will ultimately kill you. Job 2:29. His wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." Wow. Job responded. He replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from Lord and not trouble?" And all this, Job did not sin in what he said. On a on a Yahoo website, a woman states that she doesn't like to control her man. She states, "I like to organize and make the decisions. He likes to be organized and instructed what to do." I'm not sure the stair goes all the way up to the second floor on this one. She first states that she doesn't control her man, and in the same sentence she states that he likes to be told what to do. Good grief, there is a denial, and there is and then there is justifying a big bag full of baloney. If this guy likes to be told what to do, he's either a eunuch, has some real mommy issues, or is already dead. It's probably more to the point he's giving the answer she wants to hear instead of the truth, so that he'll live longer. I'm not negotiating here. I'm not negating here that that there are some mild, meek men who have dominant women in their lives who seem to be fine with it. What I'm saying is, so what? Biblically speaking, that doesn't fly. These types of men usually have had very dominant mothers who drive the maleness right out of them. Another site has been posted by an anonymous woman. In this day and age, if you are a woman, it seems you're not supposed to be. Sorry, in this age of age, if you are a woman, it seems you're not supposed to want your man to have any sort of control over you. If you do, it implies for some reason that you are weak. Give me 1 second. The page is kind of hard to turn. That you are weak or misguided. That somehow wanting a dominant man automatically says that you can stand up for yourself. So this book really goes into the full details of how feminism has brainwashed the female masses out there. And I believe that every man should read this book to understand what's really genuinely going on. I'll be back pretty soon with more of this book. I just read to you the first 2 of the 9 chapters. I hope you enjoyed this message, and I hope you have a great evening. See you all later. Take care. This is Word on Fire signing off for the evening. Bye-bye.